Hello and welcome back to Reality Check. My name is Rachael Mwine and we are delighted to have you back to this channel where we care for hearts and minds. We appreciate your feedback. You guys send us feedback every single episode, every single week, and we love hearing from you. A lot of the content that you see here is because you reach out to us, and there are things that are brewing in your homes, in your offices, in your community, and you said, Dr. Evas, Rachael, please talk about these things. And we're always happy to have these conversations every single week. Today is no different. We are going to be discussing something along the lines of parenting, because for those of you who are new, we talk mental health on this channel and how it affects our marriages, how it affects our parenting journey, how it affects our workplace, how it affects us as individuals. And on set every single week, we have Dr. Evas, who is a trained therapist, a life coach, marriage therapist, relationship coach, and she is also the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. Just to break that down, it's a place where you can find help. I think people might be hearing it and they're like, what organization is that? No, it's a place of healing. If you need to have conversations, counseling sessions, premarital counseling, post-marriage counseling, that is the place to go, and that's where you will find her. So back to our conversation, we are going to be discussing raising healthy children with a focus on parenting styles. Now, if you didn't know, dear parents who are watching, you have a parenting style. And today we are going to get into that conversation and how that impacts your child and their overall well-being as an individual. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rachael.
You look lovely.
Thank you. You look better.
Do I?
Let me first give a little information that will cushion our conversation, just to help viewers know that parenting is a very, very important component of human nurturing. And we are all born a little human.
A small dose.
Just a little human, actually. Some psychologist has put it at 10% human.
Wow.
And then parental nurturing prepares a person and contributes 80% to what a person turns out to be.
Yeah.
Then we have another window called self-improvement, right? So whatever you don't get at parenting window, it pours into
Self-improvement.
a self-improvement. Unfortunately, when we are already big, then self-improvement is a problem. That's why you hear someone say, are you my mother? Are you my... because we missed it at that stage.
Yes.
So let me come back to your question. What's my parenting style? So my parenting style is called authoritative. Authoritative is a style of parenting which combines structure, guidance, but also warmth and love.
Got it.
Right? So I'm able, even when my children are young, they know that when it is time to punish them, I'll punish. When it is time to love them, I'll love them. Even when I punish, I love them.
Yes.
And this parenting style emphasizes that even when you're punishing a child, you have to explain why. Because your desire is that a child will understand. Right? So that's what I do. And I have older children.
Yes.
Now, as children grow, then, of course, we've talked about teenage parenting, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, when children grow, then, of course, the parenting style keeps changing. You have to engage more than instruct. But even then, at whatever stage, you have to guide, you have to instruct, but you also have to provide love and warmth. My parenting style encourages a child to make mistakes. Yeah, a child knows that they can make a mistake and still come to me, and we'll discuss. They can be punished, but they will still be loved. So my children don't feel rejected. Like they are not on. They don't operate on eggshell. They don't fear because they know that they can make a mistake and still engage with me. I'll come in. I can call them out, like the bigger children. I'll call you out. I can engage. So that's my parenting style. I don't just instruct and reject when children don't do whatever I think they need to do.
Okay, you remind me of my mom. I think my mom also was very authoritative. There was the element of warmth. I actually remember when she used to punish us, she would send you to go get a stick. And then you'd sit down and first have a conversation. And I always found those conversations so annoying because I'm just like, punish me, get it over with, because now I'm on tension. There's going to be some chiboko. And then after that chiboko, she would bring you in, give you a hug, tell you how she loves you. And, she's just punishing you because of the mistake you've made and not because of who you are.
Yeah, she was beating Satan out of you.
Exactly. The foolishness out of you. So, you do remind me of mom.
Yes.
But I did say we are going to talk about raising healthy children. And I think for any goal, it would be important to know what that is. What is a healthy child? How do you know that I am now 70% on that journey, or at least I'm making strides in the right direction? So what is a healthy child?
So a healthy child is a child that is growing into a healthy adult. And again, let me remind viewers that when we are parenting, when we are raising adults, not raising children.
Got it.
So we are raising adults. And I always talk to people as a parenting coach that our goal for parenting is to raise healthy adults. And why? Because when we are parenting, we are parenting the next CEO, the next dad, the next husband, the next wife, the next employee, the next person. And so they are not just our little children. So we are raising adults that are going to influence society. So when you ask what does a healthy child look like, a healthy child is able to engage in conversation. Conversation is powerful.
That's true.
We've seen so many children that can't engage in conversation. We've seen so many adults that can't engage in conversation. The moment you start talking, they shut down.
They coil.
They just coil. They sulk. They can't engage. They can't say, oh, this is my position, how about... So that's a healthy child. A healthy child is one who is able to make decisions. And when I say decisions, I know some parents won't understand it because we are in the habit of making decisions for children.
For our kids, yes.
But at whatever age, as children grow, there is what we call age-appropriate decision making, right? Age-appropriate decision making. When our twins were young, we used to buy same clothes for them. I think I've ever said it. And then they got to a point where they said, Mommy, we want different clothes.
Yes.
And I thought, I thought you were enjoying the same dresses. I'm talking about age-appropriate decision making. That's just one example. But there could be so many. Like choice of schools. Most of the time a child says, oh, we're going here, now we're going there. No, but even when they are not the ones, let them engage in decision making. Because you see, you're raising a person that is going to engage in decision making as a husband, as a wife, as an employer, as an employee, as anything. Decision making is important. So those skills. A healthy child is one that can solve a problem. Right? Again, we talk about age-appropriate problem solving. But they need that skill to solve a problem, not just to depend on an adult to solve a problem. A healthy child is one that can express feelings, not suffocated.
Got it.
Even the happy feelings, they are not able to express them. Yeah, the positive feelings. When they become happy, you should go like, why are you too happy?
Yes.
But it's worse when they are sad. Some children are not given permission to be sad. And so a healthy child is one who is able to do that kind of emotional cleansing. What else? A healthy child is one who has permission to make a mistake.
Yes. And come back from it.
And come back and learn from it.
Yeah.
Right? Is it great? No. But how do they learn to? Learn from mistakes. So they are children who cannot be allowed to make mistakes. They are just like robots. Now that's not a healthy child. And I've seen children who cannot, in their heads, are not supposed to make mistakes. And so they go like, oh, honestly, I can't believe I did this. Now, that's not a healthy child. Yeah. A healthy child makes a mistake, comes and apologizes, owns up and turns away and makes a mistake. Now, when you think about it spiritually, even our relationship with the Lord, we make mistakes.
We make mistakes. Yes.
We make mistakes. And God is not shocked that we make mistakes. That's why he gave us a savior for a reset button, you know. So there's all scripture in the Bible. For instance, one that says, when you repent, I forgive your sin as far as the east is from the west, and remember it no more. That is sin. God is not shocked that his children make mistakes, but when they do, what happens? So a healthy child is one who grows up knowing, I can make a mistake, but I won't be rejected. That is a healthy child. I mean, I could go on and on, but that's a healthy human being. You see? Yeah, because I told you that when we are talking about raising, we are raising a healthy human being. That's the role of parenting. Yeah.
And I think it's important for parents to take note. You said something earlier about parenting contributing to 80% of who the adult or human being eventually turns out to be. And that's huge, you know, that's a really huge responsibility. So those are some checkpoints, you know. Is your child able to make decisions? Is your child able to make a mistake, learn from it, you know, and come back from it? Can your child express themselves? Just so as you watch this episode, check yourself as you parent your children. So what are these parenting styles? And I think I've heard you allude to them on one of the shows, but it would be nice to know what they are and what impact they have on the child.
That's right. So I started with the most desired. And I'm not saying it because I know that it's the most desired parenting style, which is authoritative. Now, so let me begin with that. Authoritative style of parenting grooms a child to be normal. To be normal, to know that they can make a mistake, as I said, and learn from it. They can come. They are not going to be rejected. And so these are not children who bottle up. They are encouraged to speak up, Now, the degree may depend on the personality of the child. There are children who hold back. There are children, for instance, who come from the perfect world, who don't want to make mistakes. And so a parent needs to know each child in detail. They are the expressive, the sanguines who will always, you know, they are quick to say sorry, they make another mistake, they say sorry. Okay. And so, yes, but overall, a parent needs to know that they are encouraging a child to be normal, to be a normal human being, not some robot, not some perfect person, but a normal child who is able to make decisions, to consult, to learn, to unlearn, you know, to fall and get up. So that's the most desired parenting style. The other three, which I'm going to tell you, are the very, very undesired, problematic parenting styles. So the first one is the authoritarian. Please don't confuse it with authoritative. Yes. Authoritarian is the strict parents. Actually, some literature refers to them as tiger. Tiger. So everything is about instruction, structure, you know, control. And so they don't, they just want children to turn out exactly
the way they have envisioned.
The way they have envisioned. Yeah. So there is no place for conversation. And you will hear these parents say, what does a child say? You know, recently I was listening to a conversation between two parents, and they were talking about an adult child who has just gotten married. And they were saying, one of them was saying, why would you allow your daughter to control you or something? You're the parent. This is their wedding, but you're the dad. You see that?
Yeah.
So according to them, the child should do only what
the
they have
parent
been
says
told to do.
to do.
And remember, conditioning, brain conditioning is everything. So if you condition a child to just take instructions from you, that is authoritarian. So then this child will just, they will not flex their brains to be able to think outside of the box, because they are always waiting for instruction from either mommy or daddy or both. Now, what happens to these children is that, I didn't tell you that those parents, if a child falls short, then they'll reject them. Have you heard of parents who say, me, I just go with children who do what I want. So if a child, for any reason, doesn't follow what the parent wants, then they are rejected. So those parents tend to be quite rejecting. And according to them, everything is about them, not the child. Okay? And they even dictate courses they should do, everything.
Wow.
So those parents are very controlling. We call them helicopter parents. You know, they are ever hovering on the children. Now, what happens to these children? Let me begin with the positive.
Okay.
There is some positive about it. There are some
positives
about it. The positive bit is that a child has structure. Structure is very important for discipline and for focus. That is important. So these children tend to be focused. And in most cases, actually, you find that this child achieves. Right? Like achieves academic, on the academic front, they achieve. However, they have a challenge. Number one, they have a challenge with relation. These children suffer self-esteem. Yeah, because they never believe in themselves. They believe somebody else controls their lives and has to make the decision. And so their ability to get their brains interactive, to take in more information from the wider world is restricted, because they always hear, I have to take instructions from daddy or from mommy.
So they'll sit back and wait.
They'll sit back and wait. We see them amongst adults. Some people are married to them. You'll have a husband who can't make a decision. You have a wife, every time you say we do this, they say, I have to talk to daddy. What do you think daddy will say? So their brains are conditioned to believe that someone must make a decision. So they have a very big, so they have low self-esteem, they have a challenge with decision making, but also they tend to be angry. When they grow up, they realize their ability, their own ability to make decisions is constrained, and they tend to be very, very angry, right? In psychology, we see that this particular group of children, or products of authoritarian parenting, they actually tend to be more rebellious. Actually, when they turn teenagers, they tend to be rebellious, right? Because they are rebelling against a system that has conditioned them. So either they get rebellious or they just suffocate completely, shut down. Now, that's not a healthy child.
No.
That's not a healthy child. And unfortunately, a parent who has been used to this parenting style will still follow the child, even in their marriage.
And I think the more they rebel and shut down, it's like more reason for me to give instructions.
Exactly.
Right. So the cycle continues.
Yes, and the cycle continues. And this, I've told you that these the parents tend to be quite controlling and suffocating. Now, when they realize the child has shut down, they can't make a decision, then they have the temptation to follow them everywhere, even when they are studying at a higher level. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Then the child gets more angry. So these children tend to get resentful. They get resentful later on. It's not unusual that this child will cut the parent off. Wow. Yeah, some of them cut their parents off. because they cannot take it. You know, the more we grow, we realize we need to have the ability to do our own things. And so it's not a healthy parenting style. The opposite of it is permissiveness. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a parenting style called permissive. Permissive is the opposite indeed of authoritarian.
Yeah.
Permissive is permissive.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. The child gets anything they want, and it can be as little as can be. They just get everything. Now remember, if you recall, when we were talking about parenting, I smuggled in something that the first years of life, a human being is purely operating on what we call a pleasure principle. Pleasure principle is what governs a human being between the age of 0 to 1.5 years. But from 1.5 years to 3 years, we introduce another principle called reality. Reality principle helps a human being to know that there is another person in their lives. They don't have to get what so it sort of like helps us to overcome the self-centeredness. But the first 1.5 years of life, we are all operating on self-centeredness. Now, self-centeredness is self-centeredness. You just need, there's only one human being in the world, and it's you.
Yes.
You know, you want to feed that pleasure
for as long as
you can. And then, of course, from age 3 to 5 years, another principle is introduced, which is morality. Morality, which is conscience. It helps us to know the difference between right and wrong. What happens with permissive parenting is that a child's pleasure principle is continually. Right? So they continue to receive what they want. I need this, okay. Now, I'm sure you have seen some children in shopping malls, supermarkets. Mommy, I need this.
On the floor.
And then they're on the floor, and then the mom is just panicking. Now, that's what usually happens. And it's not only moms, dads.
Even dads.
Dads. Yes. Especially dads when they have been absent from the lives of children. When they show up, they just want to do compensatory appeasement. Yes. And so they just give whatever the child wants. Now, remember, this child is not challenged to think outside of the pleasure of themselves. And so everything they ask for is given. And so when they are young, a parent begins to panic, and then they are appeasing, then they are giving, then they are giving everything they want. So these children lack structure. They lack structure, they lack discipline, they lack the concept of no. They don't hear a no. Everything is permitted. The challenge is when they turn teenagers, actually towards the time they turn teenagers, then they become the boss. So they swap roles with the parents. So they become the parent. And I've seen parents completely disempowered, because a child can disempower a parent, and this parent has nothing to say. They'll say, I want to watch TV. Please put TV. And then the parent just puts.
And they'll say, for the sake of peace.
For the sake of peace. I don't want to. And now I've had parents say, I don't want my child to be depressed.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Now this child goes through life knowing
that they'll get their way.
They'll get their way. That's how, actually, I think I mentioned it when we were talking about narcissism. So that's one of the roots of narcissistic tendencies. Because this child grows with an entitled spirit. So wherever they go, they are entitled. They are the boss. In the workplace, they are entitled. This person is not treating me well. This one. They never look at life from another person's standpoint. As far as they are concerned, there's one person in the world, and it's them. Right? So entitled children. Now, when we raise entitled children, then it's unhealthy.
Can you imagine being married to someone like that?
No, but there are many. There are many. Apparently, there are many. Yeah. If now we have so many narcissistic people, especially in marriage. Of course, it's an abused, we talked about it,
yes.
It's an abused
yes.
term
yes.
because any form of selfishness, people think it is
narcissism.
But that's not true. Now, the thing is, these children tend to be, every time we are assessing a person for narcissism, we roll back and you'll see the permissive parenting style. So again, this child loses structure. They don't know how to deal with authority. They lack a sense of authority. I didn't tell you that the other category knows how to submit to authority because everything is about authority. But this particular one, they have no idea about authority. Because the authority that was supposed to be in there that would have modeled a sense of authority, the person in their lives, the parent, then did not model this.
Yeah.
So they grow up questioning. If they show up in the workplace and they say, this is your supervisor, they don't understand it. They go like, who do you think you are? Are you my mother? Are you my dad? That's why we have a challenge. Actually, especially these days, sorry to say this, especially these days, we have so many unparented people in the workplace. We have so many unparented parents
who are parenting children.
And it is very sad. So products of permissive parenting, that's the challenge. They lack structure, they lack authority, and they don't know no. They don't know no. And decision making, they are the boss. Yeah. They also have a challenge with what we call emotional regulation. I hope you know that emotional regulation is one of the principles of emotional intelligence or relational intelligence that they don't know. They don't know because they were not taught restraint. Yeah. So anything they wanted, they got.
Now, at whatever cost.
Exactly. So every time we say no to a child, we are helping them to exercise emotional regulation, restraint. But now if someone says, I'm going here, I'm going there, so they tend to be indisciplined. And it's a very big challenge. And any emotion, they can't control it because you see, they have grown manipulating people. They've manipulated parents and they have managed. So if they say, give me this and you don't, they start off crying when they are little. So they pull off every
form of emotion.
Every form of manipulation. Yeah. So they'll cry, roll, and then you get scared. When you get married to them, they're going to roll in different ways.
Silent treatment.
Silent treatment. They're going to run to bars, gaslight you, and all this that is happening. So it's very unhealthy. That's why I started with, when we are raising adults. We are not raising children. Yeah. We are raising adults. So that's permissiveness. The fourth one. The fourth one is called neglectful.
Okay.
Neglectful parenting is neglectful. Parents are not in the lives of their children. I was so, there is this statistic running on social media pages, and I was questioning it yesterday. I hope it's not true, but we were looking at children with absentee parents, especially dads, and it's so scary. But it's possible. So neglectful parenting is where a parent is not in the life, is not involved in the life of a child. And when we say involved, in the nurturing, in the detail, in the correcting behavior, in teaching character, not just paying fees. But in neglectful parenting, it's also possible to have a parent completely absent. You've seen children who have rich parents, but they can't even go to school. They lack basic supplies of life. Now, this form of parenting is the worst. Because here, a parent is not even there to spoil. like
the permissive one, yes.
Here, a parent is completely absent. We've had so many cases. I remember a case of a child where the mom, just one evening, said, I'm going to check on my friends, and she flew off to the US, and the child didn't see this mom for 13 years. She shows up and she has made so much money, and now she wants to spoil the child. In the meantime, this boy has suffered so much and has gone to different homes, and the dad, his dad had him from a casual relationship. So he couldn't even go to the parents. To the dad.
Yeah.
And so this boy has suffered neglect, both emotional and physical. And then when the parents show up, they have a new phone, they have a new room, they have an apartment.
Which all mean nothing.
Which all mean nothing. And this child is angry.
Yeah.
So what happens? These children, of course, lack structure, they lack warmth, they lack everything because they don't have a parent in their lives provide support. Now, most of these children actually, again, studies have shown that these are children, for instance, who are born out of wedlock, and parents are hiding them, and so it's very hard to be in their lives and connect with them and love them and hug them and do all that is important. And so this child, one of the challenges is they lack a bond. A sense of bonding, because they are neglected everywhere. And neglect is painful.
It is.
You know, it's rejection. And so these are not healthy children at all. So neglect is neglect. There's nothing positive about neglect.
Yeah, and I keep going back to the 80% of what the person eventually becomes. So imagine the child has missed out on 80% of who they could have become.
Yes.
So a child who is brought up by a neglectful parent is void of a lot of things.
They are void of a lot of things, and they are hurting.
Yeah.
They run around with emptiness, and they tend to be angry, and later on they can do a bit of compensation, but they have to deal with rejection. Right? They have to deal with rejection, and rejection is so hard to deal with, because that's why I tell people life is about basic things. Now, when someone suffers rejection, that's big. They have to deal with it. They have to do therapy. They have to understand. They have to understand the struggles of their parents, otherwise they can be angry. Now, later on, they tend to get aggressive. And so they'll go like, they can be successful, what people call successful. But you know, if they don't deal with their struggles, they will still turn out unhealthy. You've seen some angry, undue aggression in people, and you don't know where this is coming from, because they're trying to prove the point.
And compensate.
And they're saying, look, I can make it. And sometimes they're competing with themselves. So it is very unhealthy. It is so sad that this parental nurturing window, which we don't pay attention to, we have no idea what we are missing and what our children are missing. And it hurts me always when I hear parents say, look, I've done everything. Now, everything, most of the time, is money, is material. I've bought this. But what a child needs, when you check, is actually not just that. That. Now, it's very disappointing news for parents when they hear that a child is not going to remember that you paid fees for them. That's so, they don't care. They don't even conceive it. Like when you tell a child, do you know how much money I'm paying? They don't know how much money.
You're also
what is much?
What is responsibility?
No, don't worry even about that. But they can't get this in. They can't conceive it, because what is much? What is little? If you say, do you know I'm paying $7,000 for you in school? They go like, okay.
Is that a lot? Is that little?
A lot? Is that little? Is it? Is it ridiculous?
Yes.
Is it? So that's not where a child needs us. A child needs us to love them, to connect with them, to teach. They need to bond. They need to relate. They need to connect. When they connect, they develop security. You know, that's why, for instance, we're talking about taking these children to boarding school at an early age. Then they perceive that as rejection, because you've taken me away from relationship. So this is very important, and I'm not saying they shouldn't go to boarding school. We have had a whole conversation about that. But Parents need to know that what a child needs, listen, needs, not wants. What a child needs is love, is connection, is the ability to be normal, is to play, right? Is to play. Now, you've had parents who say, why are you playing? You need to be reading, you need to be... But this is what a child needs. They need to be normal and then grow up as a normal human being, guided that you can play, but you can also work. This is not time for this, this is time for this. You can watch TV, but you see, don't watch TV the whole day. You need TV because you need perspective, you need to, but then you also need to work. So that kind of structure is important for a good, normal human being.
So the thing about parenting is it's a cycle, because you are a parent now, but you were parented by someone who was also parented by someone. And we all have different styles. We all have different approaches to this journey. Can you talk about the role of upbringing in terms of how we parent? And maybe, I think my goal for today is for parents to evaluate themselves as they are watching. You know, as you receive this information, it's like dig within, like, how was I raised and how much of that am I bringing into my parenting journey?
Look, we are likely to parent the way we were parented, right? Because we never learn parenting in other areas, except now what we are talking about. But when we are parented a certain way, we believe that that's the only way that is there.
That is there.
In the world. Now, I've had some people say, our dad didn't even greet us. He was
military.
He was military. Didn't we turn out?
Okay.
And I go like, no. You did. Because we are always seeing certain things that are parenting related, are rooted in parenting in adults. You see how they talk, you see how... So we all are likely to parent the way we were parented. If we are parented to be permissive, or in a permissive manner, if we are products of a permissive style, we always believe it's okay to raise children like that. And sometimes we call it love.
We are likely to call it love.
Yes, we call it love. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with love. But you see, love doesn't spoil. We can love our children without spoiling them. Did you hear me?
Yes.
We can love our children without spoiling them. We can love our children without just plunging into appeasement. Right? If you're a product of permissiveness, you're likely, unless you learn from some of the things we're talking about, then you're likely to go that route and think the only way to parent a child is to give them whatever they want. But I've seen mostly people who have been products of authoritarian parenting. Chiboko. All they know is to punish, punish, instruct, punish, instruct, punish. They don't teach. Now, when you look at Scripture talks about punishing, but then it emphasizes teaching. Teach. Now, I always challenge myself and other people. Anyone remembers a teacher? I had two teachers who I still remember in my life. I had my English teacher who loved that I did English very well, but she was so brutal. She was so brutal. She had a sharp tongue, and if I failed anything small, she would all come out and was so rejecting. And I failed English at senior 4 because of that. But I had a good teacher for art. I was the worst art student. God bless my art teacher. I don't know where he is now. But that, I couldn't even draw one thing. But he always encouraged me to come to his class. And he said, come, I love the way you do. And he would laugh, and then he says, look, do you see that you've improved from this time? to this time.
Even
And
though
I
there
want
was
to tell
barely
you, I
any
looked
progress.
forward to my art lessons
More than you did
more than I
English.
did English. What am I talking about? I'm talking about teaching, a teacher, being a child's teacher.
Yeah.
What kind of teacher are we? Are you my English teacher or are you my art teacher? That I passed art with some, I think, distinction 6. But don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I should have passed English because I knew English very well. But my English teacher was so bad. So sometimes parents, the kind of teacher we are to our, and parents are teachers, the kind of teacher we are to our children is so bad that a child resents whatever you're teaching. Because human nature connects with kindness, with humility, with grace. We all gravitate towards grace. So whenever we apply a parenting style that is brutal, that is rejecting, that is resenting, that is just punishing,
Condemning,
condemning,
yes.
and sometimes we put tags. We put tags on children just because they have done something. You say you're stupid, you're weird, you're I don't know what, those tags. And I tell parents, including myself, a tag you put on your child, no one will remove it. Yes, the tag you put on your child, no one will remove it because you are an important person in a child's life. So the moment you put a tag stupid, the world can applaud them, the world can tell them, man, you're just amazing. But they will always check back with what daddy said.
What daddy said.
Right? That cannot be removed. Other tags we remove. Especially, I always encourage parents, put as many positive tags on your child. Occupy all the space that the world has no place to put negative tags.
One,
right? Because if I tell my child, you'll make it, not to spoil them, not to be weird and put unreal things, but there are certain things we can put on our children. And especially when we connect with them and say, you're really good at this. I do that with my children. You're such an amazing person. You're a hard worker. You do this. But when they make a mistake, I don't pull off a tag. I just separate the what from who, and I say what you have done is not right. But I don't say, I can say you've done a dumb thing, but I don't say you're a dumb child.
Person, yes.
You see? So it's very important for parents to know that the way they were parented is likely to be the way they're going to parent.
Yes, yes, that is so true. I mean, as we conclude this conversation, maybe someone has been watching and they're like, okay, I kind of see where I fall. What are some things to consider, okay, say going forward, if they've discovered maybe I was raised by an authoritarian parent and that's probably what I'm doing in my home, what would be like next steps for them to then raise a healthy child? Yeah.
Important to note is that parenting is a skill, right? So you don't have to have inherited this from whoever, right? So it is important for each one of us to know that it's one thing to be a mother and a dad, but it's another thing to be a parent. Parenting is skill. Like I've said, there's so much to learn about parenting. We're going to be running parenting sessions. But one of the things I help parents to know is to understand their child, the personality of their child. Now, most of the time we just parent generally. We see our children as generally, but they are different. Yeah. They are different. And so how do you consider the different personalities as you parent? How do you also unlearn certain things? You see, I've said that we are likely to parent the way we were parented. But do you know that some of the things we need to unlearn? You know, life is about learning and unlearning.
Yeah.
And so there are certain things we have to unlearn. If my dad was brutal, I don't have to be brutal to my children because that's all I saw, right? If my mom was permissive, I don't have to be permissive because that's what I saw. So there is a conditioning of our brains to know that a parent looks like this. But interestingly, sometimes we continue to do things we hate. We hated about our parents.
That's true.
You see? But then we
not
believe.
Conscious of it.
We're not conscious and we are just saying, but that's what I saw. and then we validate it. We say, yeah, but I also
turned out okay.
But you didn't.
Yes.
You didn't. Most of the time, there are so many adults who are dealing with unresolved trauma.
That's true.
Yeah, there are adults who really hate their parents, but then they continue doing some certain things. So learning and unlearning, right? So unlearn that, but also be interested. Be interested. There's so much resource, so much. They attend parenting sessions and learn to parent. For instance, parents are struggling with teenagers. They don't know that this is a totally different landscape. You know, they are still calling them babies, and then the teenagers are looking and say, "Who are you calling a baby?" Now, we don't know. We don't understand the psychology of a person at the stage of teenagehood. We don't know that, for instance, that stage determines what an adult turns out to be.
Wow.
You know, the way teenagehood is resolved determines. That's where people get all the identity crisis.
Yes.
That's where rebellion, if someone's rebellion at teenage stage is not resolved, they're going to go with it into adulthood. If, like, all the elements of identity crisis that people are dealing with in later on in their 40s and 30s is a result of unresolved teenage stage. Now, so parents need to be open to learning. This is the most noble cause any person will do in this world. To prepare another person's life, that's big.
Set them up for success.
That's big. To lead your child to their destiny, that's a big thing.
It's huge.
That's huge. And you don't want to gamble it.
No.
You know, see here, pick this idea there. Go to your grandmother.
Go to your grandmother.
Come on. And the world is changing.
Yeah.
So that's why we encourage learning. Please learn parenting as a skill. That's what I would say. Then, of course, resolve your own struggles. Yeah. Resolve your own struggles. Parents, we are dealing with our own things that are pouring into the lives of our children. Sometimes our children don't understand what's going on. They just see you get rough. They see you do certain things. They don't understand where you're picking this from. Most of the time, we are running away from the pain of our parents, of our environment, of, you know, upbringing. So it's very, very important for parents to resolve their issues and then have a clean heart to be able to prepare their children.
Oh, wow, powerful. I think the thing that has encouraged me is that parenting is a skill and it can be learned. You know, I think many of us get lost in the, oh, you know, my parents raised me like this, my mom was always angry, my dad was bitter, and we feel sorry for ourselves and then begin to gamble with our own children's parenting.
We do. We do. Actually, one of the things I've seen is how we are so quick to go back to what our parents did.
Yes.
And I've always challenged people, my clients who are out there, will attest to this. It feels like whatever your parents did, you're going to do. Have you ever seen that? Yeah. But my parents, even the ugly. Yeah.
Because it's your reference point.
It's your reference point. But in your reference, in referencing your parents, you need also to be objective and say, Bambi,
that's what
my
they
dad,
knew.
that's what they knew.
Yes.
That's what he knew at that time. And so I'm not just going to inherit the whole thing and go and run with it, because if he didn't know this, I always ask people, did your dad drive a car? No. But why are you driving? If you're going to do everything your parents did, did they take tobacco or whatever? Yes. Why aren't you doing it? So we have to get over this whole habit of just inheriting the whole thing and you're going with it. No, the world is changing, and if I were to tell you, Rachel, as parents, especially now, we are resenting the 21st century issues instead of stepping up and being what we call being in step with the reality of life. Because the world has changed. Now, unfortunately, I've heard one of my colleagues talk about children, parents now listening to children and saying, I have nothing to do now, child, tell me what you want. Do you want to watch TV? Oh, okay. We can't do that.
No.
We still need to position ourselves in a place of authority, guide children, but guide them lovingly, guide them with warmth, guide them with grace, guide them with kindness, and raise them to be human beings. And if you missed out anything at your stage, please don't try to compensate yourself and reward yourself through your children. No. If you're angry, don't project your children. Do you know it's very easy to project our anger
on our children?
On our children.
Yes. Yes.
Even transfer. Because you couldn't beat your dad, now you're beating your child.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's very, very powerful. Thank you so much, Dr. Evas. Another important thing for you to take away from this session is resolve your own traumas, resolve your own struggles. And there is help, there is information, there are resources, whether online, you can come to ICFC, make an appointment with Dr. Evas and her trained team of therapists and find help so that you can be the best version of yourself to your children and raise them in a healthy manner. That is it from us. Let us know what has stood out for you in this episode. Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend, a family member, someone who you think might find it useful. We'll be back next week with another conversation right here on Reality Check. Until then, bye-bye.